Hey friends, so today think of this as class 101 if you were in the university on how to declutter and organize. The first tip is that you can't fit a round peg in a square hole. What I mean by that is that if you have too much clutter, there is no way to organize it. You cannot organize clutter, and as much as we try, and I've been there, I've tried it myself, it doesn't work. And you never seem to be able to have enough homes for your things if you have too much. What do they say? Anything that you don't actually need is clutter, even if it's something that you find is valuable or important. It doesn't matter how much money you spent on it. If you're not using it on a daily basis or something that you really love, then it is clutter, because your home is not a storage unit. So when you are starting to declutter, if the big things like kids' toys or your closet is too much, that's okay. Don't start there. Start where you feel like you can emotionally manage. Something maybe that you don't have a lot of attachment to. Start with maybe your craft supplies or utensils in your drawer in the kitchen or your Tupperware. Start with things that are going to make you feel really good about decluttering them, but they're not emotionally dragging you down in the beginning, because you want to build up energy as you realize that your life becomes easier and things are gone and you can actually start putting organizational processes in place. Because there's less, you're going to feel more motivated to do those harder areas of your home. Step number 2, after you've done some big declutters, is that I want you to sit in the space. I don't want you to run out to the Container Store and buy everything that you think is beautiful and shiny that might work because it works in the Container Store or on Pinterest. What I want you to do is really just sit in the space and live with that space for a little while before you make any of those big decisions. You want to be able to know your space very well, get the measurements, really think about what the problem areas are before you start spending all this money and time to put organizational boxes or baskets in a place that might just not work. I learned that very much the hard way when I started to organize my kitchen. Organizing my kitchen has been a huge headache for me, but it's a very awkward and small space. I don't have a big, beautiful pantry like some people do. And so finding the right containers has taken me some time. And I'm not saying you won't make mistakes. I think making mistakes is fine. But when you actually know where the real problems are, you will be able to zone in on what could really work in that area. Also, I would just say always start with what you have and see if they can work for what you need. Because a lot of times we don't need something that is perfect. We just need something that is functional for a home for that space. And that leads me very nicely to tip number 3 on how you may be doing this all wrong. If you're enjoying this channel, Minimalise, remember to hit that subscribe button. It really helps my channel and it will show you my next video next week. When you are decluttering and now you're sitting and you figured out the organizational things you really need for the space, what I want you to do is I want you to make the most important things easy to access. You might not need your toaster every day. I don't. I realized that the toaster was not something that I was using on an everyday basis. And so I ended up unplugging it and I put it inside of our cabinet. So think about the things in your life that are most important. For some of you guys, it might be scissors. I know it's for me, and the scissors I don't keep out visually because I don't need them on an everyday, every moment basis. I do have a very easy spot for us to all find them and to all know where they go away, which is right underneath our sink. So make them easy access and easy to put away. Now for my shoes, I'm gonna share a really quick tip, and that is we have an entryway closet, which we're very lucky about that, but I put 3 baskets, one for each of our shoes. Now, when we have too many shoes, they'll spill outside the basket, and that's how we know we need to start decluttering. So it's a big enough basket. You can have, I think, even like 9 or 10 pairs of shoes in there. It's big enough, it's fine, but we can't have more than that. And so actually setting a limit for the amount of things you can have in that space will help you know when to declutter again the next time. So if you have a rack, like one of those shoe racks, those are fine. But if you become super overwhelmed where you have to have shoes on top of shoes on top of shoes, it starts to look very cluttered. And so that's a good sign for you that it's time to declutter that area. Also, on top of that, my daughter's jackets, as you can see, are easy for her to access. So we have hooks for myself and my husband that are higher up that he has installed. But I realized that my daughter being younger would have to step up on the platform, and it was just very difficult for her. That's why the shoes are not up high, they're down low. They're easy for her to access. That's why her hook is lower and it's right there on the door, because it's easy of access for her. Making these homes easy for her as well has been a big help for me and being able to stay more organized. If you love organizational tips and you are on a decluttering journey as well and you would like some more help with this subject, then throw a thumbs up emoji below. Step number 4 is to make a plan and actually get started on step number 1 ASAP. So make yourself a plan on what you really need in that room. What is going wrong? Maybe you feel overwhelmed by knickknacks that are all around you and visually it's just unappealing. Maybe you really want to declutter some furniture that maybe your relatives have given you, but make a plan and think about what is step number 1? What is the first thing that I need to do in order for this room to get where I really want it to be? You can go on Pinterest and have a vision board for yourself. I don't think that's a bad thing, but just realize that it's not going to be perfect. And even if you do get it to a place that you're super happy with, you're going to have to keep decluttering that area. It's not going to stay that way forever. And that's okay, because that's life. We bring things into our house. People bring things into our house. It's unintentional sometimes, and we get more cluttered, and it's okay. We try things and they don't work. We need to make sure that we're continuing to let them go, but don't get stuck on having to have perfection in order for you to get started, because it's never going to be perfect. And tip number 5 is by far my favorite and one of, I think, is the most helpful tip, and that is decide what you actually have the bandwidth for. So if you're decluttering and you're thinking about organizational things, processes that you want to bring into your home, you're making yourself a plan. Really think about, do I have the energy? Do I have the know-how to actually do this process of organization that I want to do? So what I mean by that is that a lot of times you will see that professional organizers come in and they take all your food out and they put them in these beautiful containers, or you can see it on Pinterest, and your food looks amazing. Well, as nice as that is, a lot of us don't have the energy, the bandwidth, the know-how to get that done and in a process that is going to be efficient for us. So the first step that I would do, because I personally do not have all of those containers, I just cannot handle that right now in my life. All I do is I take everything out of its box. One, because I don't have a pantry, it's very small, so I have little baskets that I put the food in. But just taking the cereal out of the box and leaving it in the little plastic bag actually visually just makes things look a lot nicer. But at the same time, it creates a lot more space in my pantry. But I know that after that, after I have folded down all the cardboard and I've put the food away, I am too tired to then go to each of those little containers and put them all away. It would be too much for me right now. Not that I'm gonna not do it in the future, but right now in my personal life, it doesn't work. So try one step at a time. If you can get all the food out of the boxes, okay, and that feels good and you wanna go to the next step, then maybe buy 1 or 2 of those food containers and see if they're actually working. You know, you don't want to get stuck with a bunch of empty containers that don't actually fit the food that you're eating on a daily basis. So step number 5 is to do one step at a time and figure out what you have the energy for, friends. So if you enjoy Minimalese, remember to hit that subscribe button and you'll get my next video next week.